Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Daniel Mangena. Sorry, I even practiced before.
You practiced as well.
I even practiced and I went back to Mangena. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's that tricky E. It's the tricky E. The E gives you the thing that you're supposed to soften the G. The deceptive little E. So,
but you know what? I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. You're gonna do a much better job than I did, obviously. So go ahead. The stage is yours.
I've had 37 years practice saying the name.
Yeah.
So. Hey everyone, I'm Daniel Mangena. I'm a speaker and author. I'm from East London in the UK, but I call Carbo home. I do some podcasting. I write for a couple of cool magazines like Entrepreneur Magazine, but we're all about bringing abundance back into entrepreneurship, not coming from lack, not coming from fear, not coming from doubt, not coming from anxiety, but tapping into our innate natural state of abundance, adding more value to the world, and getting paid at the same time, which is really cool. That's what we're all about. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. I love it. So much alignment here because my life mission is all about that entrepreneurship doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to feel like work. It should feel fun, easy, happy, through that abundant thinking, and that's so important. And I'm very curious to know like what happened. Like, is there a story behind the transition into being this way, like abundant and all? Like, was there a transition or you're always like this way?
Do you know what the thing is that I have a lot of conversations with people, for example, even on my own podcast, people, they've left corporate, they did the 9 to 5. I've never had a 9 to 5.
Oh, okay.
I've never had one. I had my first business when I was 13. I taught myself to make, in fact, no, that was my first formal business. I taught myself to make computers. So I had my first, proper business structure. I registered my first company when I was 16 years old, made and lost my first million by the age of 20, then made and lost the second one by the age of 23. Just going for it, really, not really knowing what the dickens I was doing. I was young, arrogant, didn't know how to take advice and thought I knew everything, as the youth is maybe wanting to do. But I had a wobble after the second time of losing everything. There was a very big wobble. I doubted myself. I doubted the point of even being here. There was a whole dance with suicide because I thought, I didn't really have anything left to add to the world. But over time, going through the journey of coming out of that, I came back to abundance. I came back to humility, learning from people. Now I'm very, 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 very adamant to have mentors, coaches, and continue to invest in my personal development. Because I think people lose sight of the fact that, working on yourself and personal development aren't always the same thing. You can read a powerful book. If you don't apply it, or if you're not getting the guidance, the mentorship, the coaching, or the examples and role models to apply it into your life, it was a waste of time, in my humble opinion, having learned the hard way that that's the case. I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 17 years old. Okay. I was in the trenches. I've been doing personal development since I was 16. And yet when it came to the crunch, I didn't have the capacity to allow myself to be led, mentored, and supported by people. And that cost me. Now on the other side, 20 years later or whatever, I continue to have sustainable wealth, supporting other people having sustainable wealth. One of my clients, one of the guys in my community, called it having a 7-figure life, not just a 7-figure businesses, but 7-figure life. That's having time to enjoy with the family, having health, having happiness, having joy, meaning and purpose, as well as having money. Money just becomes a tool for that. So that's really what it's been for me.
That's amazing. Dan, this is great because this came up, this topic about mentorship, self-study, shelf study, right? Like, so I'm aligned with you 100%. I'm in alignment with you because I have experienced the same thing. It's just, we could go to YouTube, we could go to Clubhouse, we could go all these places, we could take all this information, consume all the information. If there's no direction on a continuous basis, someone's not directing you, like with information without direction, I find it it just takes much longer, and mistakes come about. So you take the wrong direction and you drift. So basically, I call it like a porridge, you know, like it gets all mixed up when you try to do it on your own. You always want to grab someone that's doing something and been somewhere. Say, listen, you know, how much do you want? I want to give you just show me what you got. What you guys, you know, make it easier for me. I don't want to fail. I don't want to lose anything. I just want to win for my family. I want direction. I want guidance. Just show me what it is. I'll figure out the money. Let me figure this out. That is my mentality, right? Like what you're saying. That's how I think every entrepreneur should be. That we should be always investing. It doesn't have to be with us, but I'm saying anyone, you should be always investing in that guidance, right?
Yeah, and there's an energy behind that too. You know, if you look at our actions, our choices, our behaviors are indicative of what's going on in our mindset, right? Someone's out there, they've got a business, they're selling services, they're selling products to the world. And yet the mentality that they have going out into the world is, I'm not going to buy things from other people. Then how are you setting yourself up energetically for people to take stuff from you? It's completely backwards.
So true. When people, so when people complain is that, you know, that I don't like that quality, it's usually a quality that they have inside of them, because we all have the same. Like I always say that all your solutions to your problems are in the mirror, right? Like, and especially when you're going about spending money, for example, you want to be successful. Like this is such a good point that you just made. Is so powerful, I think. And thank you for bringing the awareness right now in this episode about it, is because everything is about giving and receiving, right? Like we're part of a design, whatever you believe our creator is, but we have a design that we're part of. And that design is clear as day, is whatever you put out, you get back. So if you're not spending money, if you're not being abundant, if you're not doing things to improve yourself,
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for you.
They go in a vicious circle, right? They keep trying to get without giving, serving, you know, humanity and providing value and all those kind of things. They just want to give, get. But that's just forceful, right? Forcing the gates.
And it doesn't, I mean, look, most of my one-on-one coaching with me is not an easy, you can't just walk up and do it. You have to be in our communities. We have to see what you're doing, and you have to be ready to spend. Like you're not going to be able to work with me one-on-one.
Invest in yourself.
Because it's high ticket. So, but I'm comfortable charging what I charge. Number one, I've got 20 years experience what I do. Number two, I've got testimonials, case studies, evidence that my stuff works. And number three, I don't charge more than I'm prepared to pay myself for being served by others.
Yes.
There are people that running around trying to sell, you know, $20,000. You've never spent $2,000 with someone, but you want someone to come and give you 20 grand.
So true.
Like, come, get real.
So true.
You know, get real.
So true. So
you,
true.
You have to be in at that level. So, you know, I'm going to Necker Island next April. I'm going to hang out with Richard Branson, some other high-level entrepreneurs, because of a mastermind that I'm in. I get access to be able to, you know, make that investment. And I was speaking to someone that, you spent that much on one weekend? It's like,
can you share the link?
I had to scratch my head. But I was scratching my head because he was completely baffled that I was prepared to spend that amount of money. But it's like, I'm going to be the poorest person on that island. Right, I do well, but I'm going to be the poorest person on that island.
Yeah.
I want to be one of the dumbest people on that island, so I can soak up, I can learn from people.
Yes.
I can, you know, I'll be able to share some insights. Yes, but I'm there to learn and to be in a different level of experience. Unless you're ready to step up and invest in being in that level, then how can I turn around and say,
so true. It's so true, Dad. This makes no sense. And you know it just reminded me of a conversation with a family member, and I was telling him that I spent it was just a discussion about their future, whatever. I said, you know what, I spent 40 grand in 2020 on personal development. And so far in 21, I spent, you know, around 20,000, right? So like, it was like, I just said something like so offensive. Like, it was just totally shocking that in his mind, basically, it was a waste, right? Like it was like I was immature kind of decision that I just threw away money. But a lot of people don't understand that the depth behind paying for knowledge and paying for knowledge and then making that knowledge part of your habitual being. That's what you're paying for. You want to be every cell of your body, that information, and that's how you get it. So it's a beautiful topic.
I mean, look, my speaker coach, okay? I work with an amazing speaker coach. Her name's Trisha Brooke. Amazing woman. Could I have learned some of the things I learned from her for $5,000? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I've got some of it from YouTube or looking at her, listening to her podcasts, and she just put out a book. Probably. But guess what? Yeah. I spent, I think, $30,000, $40,000. I can't remember what I spent with her for the work, but we spent 3 months together. Not only did my speaking go to a different level, also now guess what? I'm in a network of people operating at a certain level. There's a level of respect that I get for being. So guess what? Now I'm going to be in a film, an award-winning film this year because of that relationship.
That's
people
amazing.
People that know me, that, oh, you worked with Thing and you did, oh my God, guess what? Another level of experience. You know, you want to operate in a certain level so that you can be with your network is your net worth, right? You want to be in that level of net worth and network. You want to have those relationships. You're going to be the sum total of the 5 people that you're spending time with. If you want to be, if you want to start serving at the highest level, right, and bringing value to the world as an entrepreneur, you're not going to do that hanging out with your mates from school at the pub on the weekend, right? Yes, you might get something going to a $29 workshop on the weekend, and I'm not scrapping on that. But if you really want to make your mark, if you want to leave a legacy, then you have to be playing on the same level as legacy leaving players. And that's not going to happen for a few $100s or a few $1,000s. You're going to have to dig in and dive in. So true. That's the way it's going to happen.
Oh man, Dan, I wish I had the awareness. I mean, you know what? Everything happens in people's lives that are meant to happen. Like it's the process that people go through to reach some level of awareness. And I wish I had this awareness back in my 20s. Like I wish I knew I could hire a coach, I could hire a mentor, all that crap, all the things that I did. Like, you know, like I don't want to regret. I'm so happy where I am, but I'm just saying it would have been totally different. Like, you know, my life, you know what I mean? Like it just, you don't realize, but it just had to happen this way, right? I had to find out later in my life. And you were talking about film, like, are you acting as well? Do you do acting?
No, it's a documentary. So there's a documentary that's going on. So these guys, they've got, their last movie got like 10 awards or something like that. They're very well-respected filmmakers. And I'm going to be featured in their documentary again, because of the relationship, because of the investment that I made.
Yeah.
Have I made the money back directly from this? Yes, I have made the money back already. I haven't spent money on personal development that hasn't paid me back in spades.
Yes.
Whether it's in relationships.
100%.
Right. Access to different communities where I can share my gifts. Again, even I went to a mastermind, even this relationship now that I'm moving into, where I'm going to go to Necker Island and hanging out with some badass entrepreneurs, right? That came from going to spending money. I flew first class, went to stay at a great hotel, went to a weekend, invite only mastermind, made relationships there. One of those happened to be a person that's hooked me into this network of people. Now there's another network. I've invested in that mastermind. I've already made connections. I'm moving into venture capital next year. I've already got the relationships that's going to make that worthwhile. I was on the waiting list for the Virgin Galactic flight. I just found out I'm going to get a discount because of another network that I'm in, because of access to this mastermind and getting up the waiting list. All of these things happening because I've been investing in myself.
Of course. Amazing. I love it. I love it, Dan. Keep going. Don't stop. Sky's the limit, you know, and you're doing it amazing, and you're doing it with people, and you're spreading the energy, and you're pushing, and you're going, not pushing, but I'm saying you're going with the flow, right? And the flow means you have to release all types of energy, and money is one of them. So it's great to know. And you mentioned that you're a contributor for entrepreneur.com.
Yeah. I write entrepreneur.com. I write Entrepreneur, Brains, Good Men Project, Elephant Journal, We Motivate People. I think that's everywhere that we post.
So then how did you get into that magazine? Like, is there a story behind that?
Yeah, so there's a mastermind, another mastermind that I'm in, believe it or not. And they were like, hey, I was like, I really want to write some more. And they recommended that I pitch for Brains magazine, started writing for them, started writing for some more magazines because I was in Brains, and then that built up, and then I built up a portfolio. And then I pitched some ideas to Entrepreneur, and they said, hey, cool, come and write for us. So
amazing. Yeah. How long has it been?
I started my first art, they take ages to edit. So my first article went live a week ago.
Oh, wow. It's recent then. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's a great accomplishment. You know, like
I'm going to write for them weekly.
Oh, that's amazing. So, but you know, the thing is that it requires a lot of time though, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you get pitched? You get pitched by entrepreneurs to write about them?
Not yet. And I definitely want to focus on sort of serving before I start looking at people pitching, because I've got a lot of content I want to get out there first. But definitely at some point in the future, we'll start looking at people that have got great value. What we tend to do is people who've got great value, we have them on the Beyond Success podcast, and then we're going to be mining the podcast for content to write about later on anyway. So that's the way we're kind of looking to go with that.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Forbes Council?
Yes, so Forbes, they've got two. There's the Forbes Council. The interesting thing I found out about that, because I was pitched for the Forbes Council.
I got selected to that, but there's some variables about it, right? So,
yeah, I would say for anybody listening, I'm not knocking the Forbes Council. Yeah, but it's a franchise of Forbes magazine, and if you write for Forbes Council, you're not going to be able to write for Forbes.com.
Oh, never.
Oh. If you write for Forbes Council, because of the franchise licensing rules, you will never be able to write for Forbes.com.
Wow.
So you're better off doing like what I'm doing now, which is building up my portfolio, building up my brand, and then pitching Forbes directly to write for Forbes, rather than trying to shortcut into the Forbes Council. And you know, this is actually a great one for the entrepreneurs listening about taking shortcuts, because I think people see the overnight 10-year success, right? And they think, oh, you know, Shahid and Daniel, they're doing all these great things. But you've been in the trenches, right? I've been in the trenches. People that we're seeing out there doing numbers, they've been in the trenches and they put the time in. Enjoy the process of putting the time in and be ready to do that, because that quick fix stuff, I've rarely seen it to work. No,
you have to experience things, right? Like you have to experience things. But I still feel that, I still feel like mentorship and getting guidance like that shortcut is the most valuable shortcut in entrepreneurship.
I don't think that's a shortcut though, Shahid. Bro, I don't think that's a shortcut. I think that is, you are leveraging other people's gestation period.
Yes.
For your own benefit. You're not bypassing the lessons. Someone's had the lesson and you're getting the highlight reel.
No, I meant like I meant like shortcut, like in a journey of entrepreneurship, right? They make it, like they get guidance, they get hand holding, right? Like they find a direction, so that makes the process of entrepreneurship faster, easier, quicker, smoother, right? So that shortcut I meant, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But even in that, there's still time spent, right? There's still time spent.
Yeah.
Spending time with your mentor, reading books, going to masterminds, going to events,
following instructions.
Consume it, following instructions, right? You still have to consume it. You still have to follow the instructions. It's not just, I paid my mentor now.
I'm done. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's still work involved.
There's still work involved. Yeah, but it's you get the benefit of. So for example, one of my mentors, Greg, like when I have a conversation with him, I get the benefit of 30 years in the trenches. 30 years in the trenches. I've spent 3 years around him now, 2-3 years around him. We have phone calls. I go to stuff, I can ask him questions. He gives me access to his Rolodex. So I get 30 years of relationships, 30 years of experience, 30 years of pain, and I get to bypass all and get the highlights. But there's still time and energy.
Oh, for sure. But in the realm of your career, By hiring a mentor is like a shortcut in the overall
100%.
journey. I mean,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes, 100%.
because if they can direct you in the right way, it could help you kind of bypass things that you might come about doing your own experience, right? So,
I mean, look, you just mentioned about the Forbes Council. My experience, which I got from someone who I paid for their experience, now is helping you.
yeah.
So you could have gone down this thing, and then later you would have gone to try and go to Forbes, and they say, "Hey, no," and then
of
blah, blah,
course,
blah, blah,
yes,
things.
yes,
Exactly the same thing, you know. And it's the same for the people that come to work with me. 20 years making and losing it twice. Now building it sustainably. You know, seeing what it's like to be a young entrepreneur, being an international entrepreneur, being in different industries, juggling different types of businesses, having mentors, which ones work, which ones don't, services that I paid for, which ones work, which ones don't.
yes,
Access to my mentors, so people that come and work, they get access to all of that. Again, like I said, shortening the journey.
Shortening journey, making it more easier and efficient. And you know, and when you're looking at mentorship and stuff like that, it's always better to go with a mentor that has been through struggles and failures. You know, it's the old school thinking, oh, I gotta get help from someone who has a perfect life, but they're not going to understand life. Like if they happen to be perfect, which whatever the reason is, and they were able to do that, maybe they're not 100% human or something. If it was perfect, like awesome, you're not going to gain that trenches stuff, like the valuable lessons, you know, that you get from people like yourself, right? Because you've been there, you know.
I just think there's something to getting to taste the journey, whether it's off your own back or a combination of your own back and others.
Yeah.
But why should I learn that the alligator bites through my own experience when I can keep my hand and learn from a mentor who lost a finger?
I agree. 100%.
Right? So
and but we mentioned a point about instruction. So can you share your experience? Can you share your experience with when you're working with clients? You know, there's some that follow all instructions to the point, right? And then there's some that they just don't, right? So how do you deal with that?
Do you know what? It's really interesting because on my journey into supporting people and that being a part of my life, that's one of the things I've had to overcome, and actually learned that from another mentor of mine. He's like, you're not responsible for them. You're responsible to them.
You're not. No. Yeah.
Right?
But you still want them, right?
I
so
know,
badly. You're like, oh my God,
like,
just
why do you do
please.
that? But do you know what's been really powerful? So we teach a concept called money DNA. And one of the things from money DNA is we learn how people have their unique flow with money and with abundance. And part and parcel of the thing we do that, we understand, we look at something. So there's a researcher called Gretchen Rubin who created a model called the 4 tendencies. And the 4 tendencies looks at how we deal with expectation. So we map that with people. So we actually map that and their love language, and we use that to deliver instructions in a way that they're actually going to listen to. So nowadays we don't have this so much. I'll tell you some horror stories, but we don't have it so much now because we tailor people's journey to how they operate most efficiently. So we don't really have it so much. But back in the day, it's that people think they know better. Yeah. Right. People get caught up in their unconscious programs and they don't really want to listen. But generally it's fear of movement forward, fear of the abundance that sits on the other side, because people don't know what it's like to be abundant. So there's the fear that sits on the other side. But, you know, generally speaking, you know, everybody's going to have times when they don't listen. Everyone's going to have stuff that's a bit, but also for the listeners who have been through that thing of not listening to instructions, I'm sure you've done it. I've done it too. Not to beat yourself up. Those who serve others who don't listen, don't beat yourself up. You could, as long as you're doing your best and giving your all, which is all that we can do. Yeah. That's it. We're responsible to them, not for them. Yeah, so true. But it's just sometimes some individuals are it's a conditioning too, like you mentioned about abundance, right? Like the opposite of abundance is also conditioning that majority are programmed to feel and think around money. To bring that change
that is absolutely fear. Like it's a big jump. Or like, what are you going to do? Like, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't listen to, maybe, you know what I mean? So, but honestly, it's a beautiful bridge once you cross it. That's for sure. I wanted to ask you, what's your best tip for making the world a better place?
Focusing on yourself and your immediate sphere of influence. If more people focused on making themselves a better person and having a positive influence where they have a direct sphere, the world will be better. I was speaking to someone this morning. I'm going to be on her podcast, and she asked me what I'm passionate about, and I mentioned that I'm really passionate about the billionaire bashing that's happening at the moment, right? And we had a conversation, and she was open to we're going to discuss it properly on the podcast. You know, we just had a pre-interview today, but she was like, but I'm heavily into activism, and activism is really beating up on these billionaires right now. I'm like, but that's not going to do anything. That's wasted activism. You're screaming and shouting. What's there going to be, a bloody revolution? Are we going to cut off all of their heads? Is that what we're going to do? Is it going to be the new revolution of killing billionaires, burning them at the stake? But it's true, right?
Yeah, where are we going with this?
Where are we going with this? Yeah. But if all of the energy that we put into, if every single post, all of these memes that people are putting up, that's bashing Sir Richard Branson for going to space instead of feeding hungry people. Okay, cool.
He's doing that. He's spending so much.
He does.
Spending 30% of his, so he's doing his share. Yeah.
Right? And look at all of the jobs that he creates, these industries that he's creating. Right? The way that he's pushing humanity forward. Leaving that aside, let's say, for example, he sold all of his shares in Virgin. First and foremost, all of middle America, their 401ks are going to go down the pan. Everyone that's got their pension funds and all of that's going to go down the pan. If all the billionaires in the world sold all their shares, which is where most of their wealth is, it's not sitting in a bank, sold all of their shares, the stock market's going to collapse. So everybody that's got savings is going to collapse. The deflation that's going to happen, or the hyperinflation, that's going to happen with the financial panic.
Affects everyone.
Everybody's going to be affected.
Yeah.
All of the businesses then that get shuttered, the industries that have been created, we wouldn't have survived pandemic if we didn't have Amazon. I think somebody deserves to be remunerated for what they've done. If instead of, now, don't get me wrong, I think it's disgusting. If the reports are true that people working for Amazon still have to get food stamps, that's disgusting and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Right? If that's
of course, if that's the case,
everybody deserves a living wage.
However, especially if they're working.
Exactly. There's a difference between me taking my energy to address a specific problem with constructive criticism.
Yes.
Right?
It will equal a solution.
Exactly. Rather than me complaining and bashing. If everybody that's doing these memes, crapping on Sir Richard for going to space, instead was sharing something for your local businesses, local small businesses. A friend of yours that's starting an entrepreneurship journey, share some of their content, right? Go and find a project that's going into the solution and share energy about that. It's actually going to do something. You've got a direct influence. You can actually add to the conversation. Go and find local businesses that are doing something about the environment. Go and do that. Start recycling. Do that. Do something active. If more people actually did active things, we'd reach a tipping point where we wouldn't have most of these problems. I think it's ridiculous that we're all looking at billionaires, looking at the elite, right? And saying, oh, we need to crap on them instead of, okay, I don't like that.
Look in the mirror.
What can I do to be a part of a solution?
Yeah.
Everything would change. Yeah. Everything would change if that changed. I think.
And that's a good point. That individual person can do everything that they can do if they kind of start thinking that way. They can make a bigger impact, bigger change by doing and focusing there than trying to bash people. Because you know what it is it's a social currency type, like it's when they get into this with their friends and family, they comment like bashing and stuff. It gets exciting, right? Like it's it's another thing to do, but they don't realize the effects it has sometimes. But it's like a drama, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, like our mothers, you know, when they used to get together, they used to just talk about
My mum still calls
other.
Auntie Shirley, does the same thing. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
with you
it's just our conditioning as well. We just feel so much more excitement when we're bashing, which is unfortunate. I wish it didn't exist either. I wanted to ask, we always ask our guests, what's your inner superpower that got you to this point?
Problem solving.
Oh.
Problem solving. I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was 27 years old. So I spent my life autistic and didn't know. But the way that my brain works has saved me. Even when I look at my dalliance with suicide, it's because of how my brain works. I didn't have a reactive response to my situations. I actually stopped because of the way my brain works and when the problem solved.
Yeah.
Even when I look at the businesses I've created, the solutions that we bring, even with my consulting business, to helping businesses, with my coaching clients, with our programs, it's my ability to solve problems and to look at things from a different viewpoint that creates a value that I'm able to bring to the world. So I definitely say problem solving.
That's amazing, Dan. And you know what? I knew I connected with you. I knew there was something, you know. I know we're like future best friends or something because I was also diagnosed with autism. It's high functioning autism. Basically, it's like a rare, very rare gene mutation that they don't have much data on. Apparently, that's what the gene specialist said. But it explains so much growing up. But I had no idea. I just found out like 3 years ago, right? 2 years ago, like recent, right? But I was saying my entire life, it just explains. So I told my partner in our startup. I told him, he goes, "Oh, that makes sense." Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? He goes, all good. But yeah, I can relate. That's so good that you shared that. You know, I've tried not to share it, but I started actually Clubhouse is probably one of the reasons for the openness and building relationships and just been releasing everything. Like I just, you know, try not to, hold anything back, you know, because when you're in the public's eye, it's better to kind of release and share everything, right? It just, who knows, maybe someone is dealing with something, they don't know what it is, and it could serve them. Maybe might think, hey, listen, you know, I act like these guys, you know, let me get checked out. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what it could do by sharing this kind of message, whatever the variables are, when you share them, it could have an impact on someone's life, right? It's all about serving. So,
100%.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's been an honor, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming on the show and taking the time. I know you're busy and everything, and I genuinely want all the success that you can potentially create for you, your family, your people that you work with, your followers, like anyone in your circle, to achieve everything that they desire, and they can manifest everything into their life. I really genuinely hope that for you. And it was an honor to have you on my show.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
All right. Thank you.